Title: They fired me 4 days before retirement, so I took them down. Chapter 1, Just Business. I've always believed that if you give your all, day in, day out, for nearly 3 decades, it ought to mean something. My name is Frank Delaney. I'm 64 years old, and I spent 29 years and 11 months keeping Crestwood Technologies running. I wasn't a big name on the door. I wasn't a VP or a department head. I was the guy who showed up at 5:30 in the morning to fix broken air conditioners, unclog plumbing, and make sure the building didn't fall apart. The kind of job no one notices until it doesn't get done. I trained every facilities hire that came through those doors. Never took a sick day. Never said no when they needed me late. For nearly 30 years I gave that company everything I had, and I had just 4 days left before I reached full pension eligibility. That morning I was called into a conference room. Brandon Chase, the new operations director, didn't even look up from his laptop. He just said, "Thanks for coming in early." Then just like that it came, "Your position has been eliminated." Nothing personal. Just business. 4 days. They cut me off 4 days before I qualified for the retirement I'd worked my life around. The folder was already on the table. "Badge and keys," he said. I handed them over without a word. There was no dignity, no handshake, no thank you. Just the hum of fluorescent lights and people pretending not to see me walk out. I sat in my truck, staring at the building where I'd spent nearly half my life. Something didn't feel right. But it wasn't until I got home, spread out the paperwork and checked the dates, really checked them, that I realized what they'd done. According to their documents, I only had 29 years and 10 months of service. A month short of full benefits. But I knew better. I had the records to prove it. And that's when I remembered Janice O'Connell. She used to run HR by the book before she retired last year. I stared at her number for a long time. Then I picked up the phone and made a call that would change everything. Chapter 2, The Records They Didn't Expect. Janice answered on the second ring. Her voice hadn't changed, firm, clipped, no nonsense. The kind of voice that made executives nervous. "Frank Delaney," she said before I even introduced myself. "I heard what happened. I laid it all out. The timing. The math that didn't add up. Brandon's slick talk about budget cuts and nothing personal. The manila folder. The missing month." She didn't say a word until I finished. Then she asked, "You kept all your records?" "Every paycheck. Every memo. Every policy change since 2009. Janice let out a quiet breath. "Smart man. What Brandon did isn't just wrong, it's illegal. Terminating an employee to deny earned benefits? That's federal. But we'll need more than bad timing. We'll need to prove intent." She told me to bring everything Monday morning. 3 boxes, pay stubs, memos, handbooks, even my original offer letter from 1995. It took me hours to pack them, but I did it with the precision of someone who'd kept systems running for 3 decades. When I walked into Janice's office that Monday, she went through every file like a lawyer building a case, and that's exactly what she was. She stopped when she reached Brandon's memo from last month. "All retirement benefit calculations must reflect accurate service time." She looked up at me and said, "This memo is golden. They set the rule, then violated it. This isn't just incompetence. This is fraud." By the time I left, Janice had filed a complaint with the Department of Labor. That night my phone rang. Brandon Chase. His name flashed on the screen like a ghost I hadn't invited in. "Frank," he said, smooth as ever, "I heard you've been talking to people. I hope you're not planning to do anything rash." His voice was calm, but the threat was clear. Because if someone were to make a false claim, we'd have to examine their work history closely. He was trying to scare me. But what he didn't know, what he couldn't know, was that the complaint was already filed. And the Department of Labor had just discovered that I wasn't the only one. Chapter 3, Legacy Cost. Wednesday evening, Janice called with news that made my stomach twist. "They moved fast," she said. "Turns out you're not the first. The Department of Labor has been watching Crestwood for a while. 3 other longtime employees, terminated within months of reaching their pension milestones. All in their 60s. All with service records that had been adjusted." Janice used a word I'll never forget. Pattern. "They're calling it systematic benefit denial," she explained. "The kind of thing that gets companies federally investigated. And Frank, they found your name in the emails. 6 times in 3 months. I felt like I'd been punched in the chest. What did they say about me? That you were a legacy cost. That your benefits were a long-term liability. That your position could be dissolved and your responsibilities absorbed. All those late nights. All the weekends. All the problems I fixed without a thank you. They'd turn me into a number in a spreadsheet. Something to be eliminated for operational efficiency. And the emails, God, the emails. Brandon and the new HR director weren't even subtle. They used company email to talk about removing burdensome liabilities. They had a spreadsheet of names and termination targets. Mine was listed under Q4. The same quarter I was terminated. The investigators scheduled an in-person interview for Thursday morning. They were bringing someone from the criminal division. Criminal. Because if what Brandon did crossed the line, and it wasn't just a civil issue anymore. Wire fraud. Conspiracy. Federal charges. That night I sat in my living room, lights off, TV on mute. I stared at the wall and thought about every second I spent trying to earn that place. Every dollar I never took for granted. Every thankless fix I never complained about. They wanted me gone quietly. But I wasn't going anywhere. Chapter 4. The slide that broke the silence. Thursday morning I walked into the Department of Labor downtown. 2 investigators, young, serious, sat across from me in a room that smelled like paper and tension. They recorded everything. Asked me to recount every year I spent at Crestwood. Then they showed me the emails. Brandon and the HR director hadn't just targeted me. They had referred to us, me and 3 others, as Q4 legacy transitions. They even gave it a name, proactive workforce management. It was cold. Calculated. A PowerPoint presentation to the board included a slide labeled Legacy Employee Transition Strategy. My name was right there, alongside the others. We weren't employees to them. We were financial risks with dates next to us, termination timelines mapped out to the day. I stared at that slide for a long time. This isn't an accident, the investigator said. This is deliberate. And then came the words I didn't expect. We're going to need you to testify. In federal court. This case is going to trial. I nodded. Slowly. I thought of all the times Brandon had walked past me without a word. All the budget cuts. All the red flags I didn't want to see. I thought of that final conversation when he said, nothing personal. Just business. Now it was personal. By Monday, everything had escalated. Investigators seized Crestwood's email servers. Employees were interviewed. Brandon's office? Search. They found even more. Old strategy memos, pension saving charts, threads discussing which older workers posed cost liabilities. They documented everything, Janice told me over coffee. It's like they wanted to get caught. She was right. They thought no one would push back. They thought we'd go quietly like good little line items. But someone had paid attention. Someone had kept everything. And now, for the first time in a long time, they were the ones scrambling. Chapter 5. No more business as usual. Friday afternoon my phone rang again. Brandon. But this time, his voice didn't have the same smooth certainty. It was tight, higher-pitched, like someone trying not to drown. Frank, he said, I think there's been a misunderstanding about your termination. I almost laughed. Now it was a misunderstanding? He offered to meet. Said they could review my records, maybe correct the mistake. But I could hear it in his voice. The panic. The pressure. The board was breathing down his neck and the Department of Labor wasn't letting go. I told him it wasn't necessary. Then I hung up. An hour later, the company's lawyer called me. Not HR. Not Brandon. The lawyer was polite, professional, careful. They wanted to settle. Full pension benefits restored, backdated. Healthcare reinstated. And a $50,000 compensation offer, if I agreed not to pursue further legal action. I called Janice. Don't take it, she said instantly. They're scared. They know what's coming. If you sign that, you're letting them walk away for pennies. She was right. By Tuesday, more employees had come forward. First 8. Then 15. All of them with similar stories. Benefit calculations changed, performance questioned, then termination right before retirement eligibility. The local news picked up the story. Crestwood stock dropped 15% in a week. The headline on the front page of the business section read, Federal investigation targets local tech company in employee pension fraud. There was a photo of Brandon outside the Crestwood building, caught mid-step, looking lost in a suit that suddenly didn't fit. I didn't have to do anything. I just had to wait. The same company that counted me out like a spreadsheet error was finally facing a reckoning. And they weren't done falling. Chapter 6. I just wanted what I earned. Tuesday morning, Janice called earlier than usual. Turn on channel 6, she said. Now. I grabbed the remote, heart pounding. And there it was. Brandon Chase, being led out of the Crestwood building in handcuffs. Behind him, federal agents carrying boxes of seized documents. His face pale. His perfect hair disheveled. The confident executive now looked like a scared kid. The reporter's voice was steady, almost clinical. Federal prosecutors have charged Brandon Chase and HR Director Patricia Walsh with wire fraud and conspiracy to defraud employees of earned benefits. The charges stem from a scheme to eliminate older employees before they reached pension eligibility. I muted the TV and just sat there, staring. All I could think about was the early mornings, the weekends I stayed late, the years I gave without ever being asked twice, and how, when it mattered most, they tried to erase me. Janice called again an hour later. It's official. The Department of Labor concluded the investigation. 18 employees affected. Over $2 million in denied benefits. Crestwood's board moved fast. Brandon and Walsh were terminated immediately. The company was ordered to restore all pensions, reimburse health care coverage, and pay damages. How much? I asked quietly. $200,000, Janice said. Plus your full pension. Plus legal fees. Sober Frank. You got everything back. 3 months later, I was in my workshop building a bookshelf for my daughter. Real oak. Dovetail joints. Solid, something that would last. That money sat untouched in my savings. My pension arrived like clockwork. And for the first time in years, I slept without an alarm. Brandon pled guilty and got 18 months. Patricia got 6 in probation. Crestwood was sold. Management cleaned out. And the newspaper ran one last headline. Local man's paper trail brings down pension fraud ring. They asked for an interview. I declined. I wasn't looking for attention. I just wanted what I earned. And maybe that's the thing about people like me. We build things. We fix what's broken. We show up. And sometimes, when someone tries to take that away, we don't just walk away. We build something better instead.